Sri Rama Sethu, a relic of Sri Ramayana, which is dear to millions of Indians. Sri Rama Sethu stands today as a testimonial for perennial faith and a symbol of love of Lord Sri Rama towards his dear wife Sita. This video is all about Sri Rama Sethu as described in the Valimiki Ramayana. Just like how Bharata devoted his life towards his elder brother Lord Sri Rama, the same way Bharat since thousands and thousands of years held Lord Sri Rama very dear towards their day-to-day lives. Bharat has been so devoted to Lord Sri Rama since many centuries, and thousands of Lord Sri Ram temples across India are a standing testimonial to this devotion. Like we've already said in this channel, Project SHIVOHAM, we are trying to bring these short and interesting stories about Sri Ramayana in a simple and interesting way, taking a new perspective altogether, not really from a devotional angle, but to understand certain interesting topics about Sri Ramayana. Completely taking Valimiki Ramayana as the baseline, let us see what is the real story of Rama Sethu. Where was Rama Sethu constructed? Who constructed Rama Sethu? And how was Rama Sethu constructed? These are the three things that we're going to see in this video. So the first thing, where was Rama Sethu constructed? The answer to this question seems to be very obvious, but like I said, we are taking Valmiki Ramayana as the baseline. Now let's see where it is constructed. And this is what Sampati says to Lord Hanuman and the Vanara Sena while they were searching for Sita. Ito dvipa samudrasya sampurne shatayojane tasmin lankapuri ramya nirmita visvakarmana. In the translation, this is what Sampati said to Lord Hanuman. If you travel 100 yojanas from this point across the sea, there is an island called Lanka, and on top of that island, a beautiful city was constructed by Vishwakarma. Well, yojana certainly is a unit of distance, but how do we understand yojana in today's units of measurement? While there are a lot of references about yojana in ancient Indian scriptures, here is a most straightforward reference that we have today. Kos Minar. These structures are the milestones used in India during the medieval times. These Kos Minars are still found today in the northern parts of India, and the distance between two subsequent Kos Minars is approximately 3.22 kilometers. And 4 Kos Minars counted as one single unit of distance is called as yojana. So 1 yojana is approximately 12.88 kilometers or close to 13 you can say. So 100 yojanas, as Sampati said, is equal to 1300 kilometers. And if you're looking for a much ancient reference, or rather a textual evidence of what yojana is, it is well described in Chanakya's Ardhashastra. If we take a very quick look at the oceanographic data by removing the water across the Indian Ocean, and this is how the ocean bed looks like. As you see, there are a lot of raised land masses. These are mountain ranges down south that are currently submerged. But if you remove the water and observe, you can see how the terrain is. So strictly going by Valmiki Ramayana, from the southernmost tip of India, Raavana Lanka should be somewhere 100 yojanas or 1300 kilometers from the southernmost tip of India. So it must be somewhere in this ocean bed. Let us not quickly make any conclusions, we'll see as we proceed. So here is a better and a closer look. This is how it looks like in the afternoon, the sunrise, and in the sunset. These three vantage points gives us one very clear message. If you observe the lengths of the shadows with the sunrise and sunset, there are a lot of mountain ranges submerged in the sea on the ocean bed in Indian Ocean. While it feels very interesting to speculate the location of Raavana Lanka, but we'll not do that. We'll just stick to the facts. And as per Valmiki Ramayana, it must be around 100 yojanas from the southernmost tip of India. So it should be somewhere in this radius. Another interesting reference about Lanka comes from Varahamihira's Panchasiddhantika. As per Jyotisha Shastra or the Indian astronomy, Lanka is a place that has a very strong importance, because that is the place where equator meets the prime meridian. And here prime meridian is not Greenwich, but rather the one which cuts through Ujjain, which is the actual prime meridian of India. Varahamihira gave a very interesting slokam about the day and night cycle, and this was written way back in 500 CE, that's 1500 years ago. And this is what he says. Udayo yo lankayam sauryastamaya savitureva siddhapure madhyahne yamakotiyam romaka vishayerdharatra saha. And the translation is as follows. When it is morning in Lanka, at the same time it would be evening in Siddhapura. And when it is noon in Yamakoti, it will be midnight in Romaka. Now the names of the places might sound strange, but these were the names that were used in India back then. So Yamakoti is somewhere around Australia, Romaka is somewhere around Italy and Rome, and Siddhapura is somewhere around Mexico, which exactly matches to today's day and night cycle, which is very interesting that 1500 years ago he wrote such an accurate day and night cycle. Now that gives a tentative location about Lanka as well. Well, a strong and deep research is definitely needed to identify the exact location of Ravana Lanka. I don't want to speculate or conclude where exactly it is. So it could be Sri Lanka, or it is already submerged somewhere down south, we don't know, and we're not concluding anything here. The only point is, coming back to our question, where was Rama Sethu built? It is built from the southernmost tip of India towards an island that was 1300 kilometers or 100 yojanas down south. So the next one is, who built Rama Sethu? Well, it's a very straightforward answer that yes, it's the Vanarasena who built the Rama Sethu. But this one is to get into a little more details about what Valimiki Ramayana describes about the Vanarasena. So Sugriva, the king of the entire Vanarasena, he summons his entire kingdom living across different mountain ranges, and this is what was described in Valimiki Ramayana. Sugriva orders all his armies dwelling on the mountains of Mahendra, Himalaya, Vindhya, Kailas, Mandara, Udayadri, Astadri, Padma, Anjana and Meru to assemble and prepare for the battle to assist Lord Sri Rama in the war against Raavana. And in Valimiki Ramayana, all the Vanaras or the apes that came from each of these mountain ranges is described with a great detail. And here is a sample. Golden colored strong monkeys came from the Astadri, and black ones from Anjanadri, the white monkeys from Himalayan ranges, and the crimson red monkeys from the Kailash ranges. Well, the images are just representational, but the physique of these monkeys is described in Valimiki Ramayana to be a super strong species of apes. Now, how big is the army? Interestingly, in Valimiki Ramayana we have around 8 to 9 lines explaining about the numbers, just the number system, how it was back then. So as you can see, it is 1 koti or 1 crore, which is the basic unit of counting taken back then. I don't know if the koti described in Ramayana is the same as what we use today. I'm just literally translating what is given in there. So 1 crore is the basic unit, and then 100,000 koti is 1 shanku, 100,000 shankus is 1 mahashanku, 100,000 mahashankus is 1 vrinda, and it goes on and on till Mahayuga. It is almost like 10 to the power of 67 or 70. Such huge numbers were in use back then. And the simple commonsensical point is, we will not just invent the numbers if we don't use them. So people have been using these units of measurement back then. So even if you take 1 koti as 1 unit, that itself has around 10 to the power of 50 if you just count from row 2 onwards. It's quite interesting to see this. And the reason why this number system is explained in Sri Ramayana is to quantify the size of the army, and the Vanarasena is quantified as follows: 100,000 crores of Shankas, 1,000 Mahashankus, 100 Vrindas, 1,000 Mahavrindas. It goes on and on explaining. Well, it is very difficult to put a number here. Once you calculate all this, one thing we can say it for sure is, it is an unimaginably large army. And this army is the one which constructed Rama Sethu. Lastly, and the most interesting part, how was Rama Sethu constructed? One very important thing, in Ramayana we have physical things which are more logical in manner, and there are also metaphysical things which are possibly beyond our understanding. But as far as Rama Sethu is concerned, there are a lot of myths around it, like floating rocks, the sea getting divided into two. But what exactly is written in Valimiki Ramayana is what you're about to see. As it is a very well-known story, I'll just highlight the important points which are perceived differently in general understanding. So when Rama and his team plans to cross the sea, the Lord of Seas appears in front of Rama and says that with the help of Nala, who is part of the Vanarasena, Samudra asks to build a bridge, and he promises that he will bear the bridge on the surface. So the sea getting split into two is nowhere described in Valimiki Ramayana. And this is the start of the Rama Sethu. Soon after that, the entire Vanarasena uproots large trees and rocks to start the construction of Rama Sethu. In general understanding, it is often shown as some sort of floating rocks were thrown onto the sea to build Rama Sethu. But in reality, that's not how it is described. They meticulously uprooted a lot of trees and rocks and constructed in a very logical manner with a layered foundation of trees and rocks and trees and rocks. So that's how they kind of stacked up each of the layer and started construction right from the ocean bed. And the details of the Rama Sethu are very well described in Ramayana. All the different varieties of trees used in this construction were also described, like Sala, Ashwakarna, bamboo, palmyra, Ashoka, coconut, mango, neem, and so on, as you're seeing here. These are the different trees that the Vanarasena uprooted for the construction of Rama Sethu. From all the nearby mountain ranges, the entire army brought in huge sized rocks and transported them using mechanical contrivances. So the mechanical contrivances or the machinery, what it means here is possibly stacking up wooden logs and rolling the huge rocks on those logs or using some sort of pulleys. Coming to the most interesting aspect of the construction process, here Valimiki Ramayana details out saying that some Vanaras were holding poles for measuring the length of the bridge, and some were holding strings across the sides of the bridge so to get into a straight line, and some parts of the bridge was fastened with some sort of a rope or a strings. So it was not just dumping rocks onto the sea, but it was done in a very calculated manner. Coming to the progression of Rama Sethu, it was a 5-day job. The entire Rama Sethu was constructed in 5 days. On the first day 14 yojanas, on the second day it is 20, third day 21, fourth day 22, and finally on the 5th day for 23 yojanas. So this entire Herculean task was finished in just 5 days. So finally, the Rama Sethu, once it was constructed, it was like this: Dasha yojana vistirnam shata yojana mayanam, which means 100 yojanas in length and 10 yojanas in width. So that is 1300 kilometers long and 130 kilometers wide. So that's what is described in Valimiki Ramayana about Rama Sethu, and for one last time, Rama Sethu is described towards the end of Sri Ramayana. Now, after winning the war, on his way back, Lord Sri Rama shows this bridge to his wife Sita and says that that bridge is called as Nala Sethu, and it was so difficult for us to build it across the ocean, and I could do this with the help of the Vanarasena to save you. This is the only place where this bridge is called with the name Nala Sethu by Lord Sri Rama. Eventually, out of the devotion towards Lord Sri Rama, this is being called as Rama Sethu. Well, that is the real story about Sri Rama Sethu in brief, strictly going as per Valimiki Ramayana. Now, whether it is 1300 kilometers or 30 kilometers, it's not because of the facts, but because of the truth and the morals, the values that Sri Ramayana has been propagating in India since thousands and thousands of years. That is why it is revered. In my opinion, Sri Ramayana stands even above the Vedas, which are considered as the highest knowledge system, because of one simple reason. Learning from Vedas is like learning from a university, while learning from Sri Ramayana is learning from a mother's lap. It is so close and so dear to millions of Indians since thousands of years, and it continues to be forever. Jai Sri Ram, Jai Hanuman, and thanks for watching.